What's up, everybody? So, really quickly, this is going to be like two videos in one. I just really want to go over this for people that are watching this like within a few days of this upload. There was a new developer's note for the third major update of the homunculus. I definitely suggest you go take it out. I'm just going to give you my quick thoughts on this. The only runes out of these five runes that I think are going to be, I think, game-changing are going to be the attack, defense, and HP. The accuracy and the resistance ratios are so bad that it doesn't matter that these runes are in the game. It's not going to change it, okay? But the first three could be potentially game-changing. We just don't know yet. We have to see the true effects on it, and it depends how many of them that you stack. So it's possible since they grant extra stats, but it's all relative. We'll definitely see on that. Another thing on the homunculus update quickly is that you cannot use them in PvP or defenses, I should say. You can use them in PvP, but you can't use them on defense, which I feel like is missing out on the whole point of making your own monster, which is about being unique so that you can maybe make unique defenses and offenses to try to trap people, to try to catch people off guard, you know? It's all about customization. So hopefully they change that in the future. I definitely want them to. You'll be able to check their skills anyways. It's not like anything hidden. You'll be able to check the skills of the homunculus. The reason they didn't keep it in there for defenses is because I think it'd be too stressful for players to check the defense every time. But I think that'd be the whole point of it. That'd be super fun because you don't know what you're going up against. It's the unknown, where currently we have the entire arena offense just memorizing each unit and be like, okay, I'm going to just bring this, you know? So that's just kind of my point on it. I hope you guys enjoy this homunculus update. It's definitely a good read, but I'm not going to go over the entire thing because it's a lot. It's not really a lot of information. It's just not a lot of information that really needs going over. It's pretty straightforward. So to basically celebrate, if you guys didn't know, I summoned Syrus. I've already 6-starred him and level 40'd him and awakened him and ruined him up. I apologize if you guys wanted a 0 to hero. But as you guessed it, we're going to be doing a monster discussion on the dragons. I've not done a monster discussion on the dragons. I think it'd be super awesome. I'm not going to show you my runes on him because I haven't max skilled him or maxed his runes yet. He's still missing runes to be maxed. And grindstones, of course. So the first one we're going to be going over, of course, ironically, not ironically, is Syrus. Syrus, I've gotten to play with him a little bit, and he's definitely a very good unit. I can already say that much. Very good unit, very well-rounded. So let's go over each of these dragons. The first skill is the Fire Arrow. High multiplier, high damage multipliers, even for the non-attack type dragons. Definitely a good skill. It sucks that it doesn't do a debuff or any other type of effect. It's just straightforward damage, but hey, it's not that big of a deal. We do get some good multipliers with it to compensate for that. Now, of course, the dragons do have low base speed. That's what they're known for. But Syrus has quite amazing base attack. Like, it's so easy to ruin him. He's probably one of the most rune-friendly units in the game. You could go Swift, Despair, Violent, anything you want. You could go Rage. Like, there's so many different possibilities with Syrus. He's seriously noob-friendly. Now, his second skill burns enemies with Fire Shower. So it's basically just a bunch of hits, a bunch of AoE hits, and then you have a chance to inflict continuous damage for 3 turns. This is super good for PvE content, like in TOA, normal, and hard mode, because of course you want dots and extra damage for those stages, and this just kind of gives you that much, right? Now, it's awesome because this does really well with Despair as well, and it does hit every enemy. It's not like Gibraltar where it's like, oh, it just hits random enemies. No. This hits every enemy, you know? So the third skill, which is the cream of the crop, attacks all enemies with a fiery breath and puts their skills on cooldown. Now, that is the most overpowered thing in the game, in my opinion. Full AoE reset. Every defense that you see in Arena is trying to counter Syrus and Lucian. And of course some of the water units, but mainly Syrus and Lucian. So Syrus, like Scat Fetus says, Syrus, Lucian, Alicia, or Elsa, as I call her. But Syrus, Lucian, Alicia. That's a trinity of what you need to defend against on your AD. You have to defend against that for Guardian level arena. Now, of course, he gets an attack power leader skill, which is super freaking good. Of course, that's just like a cherry on top. And then finally, Awaken's ability is, of course, critical rate. Like, what else would it be? It's Syrus, right? Honestly, one of the most overpowered units in the game. If you guys don't know how to build him, you just go damage build. You could go tanky build for TOA and PvE or for arena defense, but I find the most success with a damage build. He's just so well-rounded. He'll help you on offense for sure. Now, Varad is a very highly underrated unit, or used to be, until he got unnecessarily buffed on his third skill. Now, he has really high base HP, really high base defense, but his base speed is lacking. It's one less than Syrus. I hate his base speed, but it's not that big of a deal. Now, he has the same first skill. Second skill attacks all enemies with a Storm of Ice, dealing damage proportionate to our defense. So you basically freeze them with an 80% chance, and it deals damage proportionate to defense. The damage sucks. It does suck, guys. The damage, you can't justify it. The damage sucks, okay? But 80% chance to freeze them seems like, I mean, it's all right. But it so well aligns with the third skill. So this third skill is basically, it reduces all of the attack gauges of all of the enemies to 0, and it freezes them. So it's 2-turn denial, and then you got this one, which is 3-turn denial. A lot of people are like, oh, Hathor is better than Varad because she has 3-turn denial. Varad, 3-turn denial based on his 2 skills, and on top of that, it's not sleep where you have to worry about who you touch. It's freeze. It's freeze, and freeze is identical to stun. To all the people that think that freeze and stun are different, they both deny cooldown reduction. I've tested it myself. Go test it in scenario mode. They both deny cooldown reduction. So if someone's stunned, they will not get their cooldown turn. I've tested it. Tried and proved, okay? And now HP leader skill increases the HP of all ally monsters by 33%, which is super good. The only thing I could say, if it was defense leader skill, that would more solidify his role as a damage dealer, because that would be his own leader skill for himself. But the HP leader skill is super nice when you're bringing him into tanky teams. Honestly, if you want to use him on defense, you're going to have a strong fire unit, or you're going to get Lucian. Other than that, he's just a really good unit overall, and the most success you'll see with him is basically in Trial of Ascension, mainly hard mode. That's how I get most of my success, and that's what I use for TOA rushing. That's what I used in TOA hard rush, and that's how I got rank 1 with TOA hard. So then, of course, he awakens into accuracy. Again, the awakening ability just fits his monster build so freaking well. So I'm super happy about that. Varad and Syrus are on like similar levels of OP-ness. He's so crazy. You guys have no idea. Like, the Varad owners know how good he is. He's freaking crazy. However good you think he is, he's much better than you think. Better than whatever you have in your mind. Now, Jamya is another unit that is just incredibly underrated. He is, I think, really good. He's not a counter to Syrus. A lot of people think he's a counter to Syrus, but Syrus will reset him. So it's not really a counter to Syrus when your skill that resets everyone gets reset. Kind of confusing, but basically he just resets. So it's, okay, we'll go over it skill by skill. He's got high base speed, of course, because he increases by speed. Again, the leader skill, the awakening ability, and the unit just all fit perfectly well between these 3 main attributes. It's crazy. So he's got high base speed, decent base HP, and decent defense, but he makes up for it with high attack, which doesn't make sense because you're not going to build him attack based, right? Because his second skill damages based on the target's max HP, which makes him good in Trial of Ascension or in Rift, because they have such large amounts of HP that you can actually do damage with it, right? So the second skill just decreases the attack power, and then of course he also deals damage based on the max HP. And it is somewhat AoE attack. It's like multi-hit, so it attacks one enemy and then 2 units around it. His third skill is basically what he's useful though, because he does an AoE reset of your own units and makes all of the skills available to be used. So honestly, I find this guy really useful in terms of like weird teams where you want the same unit to use the same third skill back to back. So something like Katarina would be actually really fun to use it with. You go like Jamya, Katarina, and then the water horse. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but if you do that in Guild Wars, I think YDCB does it. It's actually a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. I've done it on one account, and it's so much fun. So seriously, definitely a good Guild War unit. It's good for Rift because you can use the speed leader skill, and then it can be decent for TOA if you use him to reset all of the skills once you apply all of your dots or resets or all of that type of stuff. Now, of course, he does get an attack speed or speed leader skill, 24%. He's one of the very few monsters that has a speed leader skill and is a nat 5. So it's 24%, which is super, super convenient. Definitely usable in PvE areas and in some PvP. And he could be fun to use. I don't know if he's good for RTA, but he's definitely good for the PvE areas. Now the next one is Xerath. Now this guy, believe it or not, actually has the highest base HP in the game. The highest. Just objectively, he has the highest base HP in the game. Crazy. It's a crazy amount. 15,315 base HP. Now, of course, his base speed is low again. His defense is low because he's got such high HP. And his attack power is low, but you don't need to worry about the attack power. Same first skill. Second skill, it's basically, it heals all allies by 15%. Probably gets more healing based on skill ups. And it cleanses 2 harmful effects. So he's kind of like a half cleanser. So he is useful in some areas. He would be good, I feel like, on offense to go before your units because he can do a lot of damage even without the whole buffs and whatnot, or debuffs like defense break. He can do a decent amount of damage, and he'd be able to go before your units and cleanse any stuns if it's like a Praha or a Juno that might despair stun you through the buff removal. So he would be good in that regard too. And then his third skill, sacrifices half your current HP to deal damage to all enemies, and damage is proportionate to sacrifice HP. So basically it gets rid of half of his HP and then deals damage proportionate to the amount that you just sacrificed, which is hard to work with because you're kind of hurting yourself, kind of like Galadriel, but at the same time you're dealing a good amount of damage. He doesn't do enough damage to bring into like bruiser comps because he's going to do like 20k damage, but he's good because you can prepare him to be anti-wombo if it's like a really weak team. He's tanky enough to deal that AoE heavy damage, and then he might snipe off a couple units, which is all you need to win. Now he does get a 24% critical rate monster leader skill. Again, good for arena if you might use him in PvP before everyone goes to maybe cleanse. If no one gets stunned, you can use a third skill, kind of like extra stuff, which is super convenient. But he does awaken into resistance, a big giant boom, cock block, just right there, because the awakening skill could be so good. It could be critical rate, it could be HP, or actually it can't be HP. It could be anything other than resistance, seriously. But they slapped us with this fat, big resistance, which is just kind of disappointing, but it's whatever. The next one is Grogan, the last one actually. Low base, or decent base HP, good attack, or somewhat good attack. He's kind of like well-rounded. I mean, he's got decent defense, decent attack, and decent HP, but none of them really stand out. The low speed, of course, is typical for dragons. First skill is the same. Second skill, I actually did the calculations on it, and max skilled and everything, it's about a 42% chance to stun on this skill. So it's not really that crazy, and the damage multipliers aren't really that good either. But his third skill is pretty interesting. Attacks all enemies with the power of darkness. Skill deals 100% increased critical rate damage, or critical damage, I mean, on critical hits. Now, this is actually really cool because you can build him even with an incredible amount of critical damage, and it'll still go higher. So if you do him, Rage Blade or Rage Will or something like that with 200% critical damage, that's going to be 300% critical damage when he does the damage. And given that he has low base attack, I think it'd be better to just stack as much crit damage as you can with a decent amount of attack rather than trying to just make up for all of that lost attack power, right? So that would definitely be a good idea. I've seen some test damages with him. Nothing really changed much. He's okay, but he is a light and dark AoE, or he's a dark AoE unit, which is super useful for AO because, of course, you don't have to deal with the attribute advantages and disadvantages. Of course, though, CompTOS, what were you thinking? Come on, man. You throw us this bone, hey, look at this awesome unit that gets 100% critical damage increased. And then you freaking slap on this resistance leader skill. That's just the biggest slap in the face that Grogan could ever receive. But wait, no. Wait. Guys, it gets better. I promise you, it gets better. He awakens into resistance. I'm not kidding you. He awakens into resistance with a resistance leader skill. What the? Oh my god. This has got to be the worst awakening ability and the worst passive to pair on a unit. That is the biggest slap in the face, but it's alright. He deals decent damage. He's okay. I think he deserves another buff. I think they should change his awakening ability, and I think they should maybe change his leader skill while they're at it. He's an LD Nat 5, but let me know what you guys think. So I want to know what you guys think about the Homunculus update, and of course with the new runes, and I want to know what your guys' favorite dragon is. It's a hard one between my picking because, I've got Zyros Varad now, and I love Varad or Zyros, but Varad has been my baby. He's been he's been my child for like since I can remember, like almost a year now. So he's definitely like one of my favorites. But you know, it doesn't matter in terms of usability and the best one. Syrus probably still comes out on top of Varad, if only slightly. But him and Varad on top together, like within inches, Varad is just so crazy OP. And then from there, I'd probably say Xerath is probably the next best one, with Jamya quickly following. And then, of course, Grogan taking the dead last, because his skills just don't cooperate with each other. He's got a stun skill with low damage, and then a high damage skill with no CC. And then he's got 2 resistance things for his whole kit that just absolutely useless for an AoE damage monster, which is what he's supposed to be. It just doesn't make sense. And then on top it all off, he's well-rounded with low attack power, low HP, and low defense, or I should say mediocre. So his whole skill set just doesn't make sense for where it's at. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helps you out. Maybe gave you some insight on some of these dragons. Congratulations to anyone who summoned Nat 5s this week. I've seen so many Nat 5 summons. But I'm going to leave it there. You guys let me know in the comments. I'll make sure to read them. And I will see you guys next time. And hopefully we get this Homunculus update soon, because I'm dying for some new content. Alright guys, I will see you all next time.